Hi, and welcome to our Retired Nomad Adventures.
I'm Retired Rick.
And I'm Daphne, and we are a retired couple who sold everything to travel the world full-time, and we slow travel about a month at a time in each new location. And today we are in Florence, Italy, and we've been here for almost a month now, and so we feel like it's time to sort of apply our criteria to determine, is this a place that we could live long-term?
And when we talk about living long term, we're just talking about 3 months. 3 months, a place that we can visit for 3 months at a time and then go back home, and then another place to go out to for 3 months.
I think it's important to say that while we're traveling full-time right now, we don't expect that we're going to travel full-time for our whole life, but we do expect to do it for 3 to 5 years at least. Right. And our end game is to find places that we can return to again and again. And so we sort of take this list of criteria and apply it and see if this is a place that we'll want to return to for that longer term period of time. So you may ask, how did we end up in Florence? And really for us, we had never been to Italy. So Italy is a place, especially if you're a traveler, you've got to go to Italy. And so we were very excited to be able to come here. And we came here on a cruise ship from Istanbul, and the cruise ship dropped us off in Venice. So since we were in that part of the country, we knew that the big 3 places we had to see were Venice, Florence, and Rome. So that's what we're doing. We're doing Venice, Florence, and Rome. And so we've done Venice, we're in Florence now, and then we'll be heading to Rome. So the first thing we take a look at is the population, like how big is the place? We're not necessarily big city kind of people, so we take a look at the population size, and the population here was surprisingly smaller than I expected. It's less than 400,000 people.
It does feel bigger because there are a lot of tourists here. Florence is a city that welcomes a lot of tourists.
Yes, and so that's why it was so surprising to see the actual population, because when you're out and about and you're in the city center, especially kind of where all the historical landmarks are, wow, it's crowded. It's one of the few places that we've been to that has been sort of elbow to elbow, you're kind of jostling your way. The next thing we always take a look at is what's the crime and safety like in a particular area. And I'll say in Florence is the first place that we've had so many people warn us about being mindful of our surroundings, being mindful of our belongings, and that's like taxi drivers, restaurant owners, store owners, and then also fellow tourists when we talk to them at restaurants or wherever we happen to talk to people. So many people have sort of warned us
of be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And you have to do that anywhere, in any big city or even small cities. Crime is everywhere in the world. And just visiting here, we were surprised on the amount of people who warned us about pickpocketing and stuff like that. So we were really aware of that, but it also put us on edge a little bit because we've never had that warning so often.
Yeah.
So.
We were going on an excursion, and we had to be to the train station by 7 a.m. So we had to start walking about 6 a.m. because that's how far it was from us. So I was a little nervous because we were going to be out and it was still going to be dark, and this happened to be a long excursion, so we weren't getting back till between 9 and 10 p.m. So then also walking home in the dark, and I really did kind of get into my head because everybody had sort of said so much, and yet we haven't experienced anything. Yeah. We haven't been frightened anywhere, and certainly we're always mindful of our things, but we haven't experienced anything that's been problematic. So I was bummed with myself that I let all of that kind of get into my head. Of course, you have to be, aware of your surroundings. But the walk to our train station was the most beautiful walk we've ever been on. The Duomo was lit up like nobody's business, and there was nobody around. And so I guess just don't let other people's experiences color yours, although hear them. Because it's important. And the safety index here is only a 44, but it really is for petty crimes.
Yeah, pickpocketing, and they said burglary, but that I would assume that would be breaking into cars or something like that. But like we said, we haven't witnessed it, but we were warned about it. So we understand wherever we go, there's crime everywhere, and we're not saying that there's a lot of crime here or not. Just be aware of the crime, of the take people's warning, take residents' cautiousness, and just apply it to your everyday life.
Yeah, and I would say this is the place that we have never had so many people warn us, and it's been surprising because we haven't felt unsafe at all. So just be mindful here. Next thing we take a look at is sort of what's the main industry in a place we're at. And in Florence, it's art. It's like a living museum, and tourism. And so beyond that, they are very, so fashion is a big industry, leather is a big industry, but art and tourism are the 2 main draws.
That might be a blessing and a curse.
I agree, because they say there's over 1 million visitors that are visiting Florence. And so the tourism definitely brings in the industry, but it also brings in the crowds. And also it has increased the prices here, I think. So we heard one tour guide talking to her tour group about how much they love the tourists who come here because it brings the money in. But then she said things like the museum prices had really gone up, and that was good because it brought money into the city, but it also meant the locals couldn't go like they used to be able to go. So I feel like there is kind of a blessing and a curse there.
Yes, and when you hear that as a tourist, we're tourists, when you hear that, it's kind of disheartening because we're basically the problem for the residents here, where they can't enjoy the things that we enjoy. We pay for it. We pay for the higher prices because we're on vacation or we're traveling, and we're willing to do that. And it's just disheartening when you hear that because we are contributing to the problem.
Yeah, and I don't know how to make that better. I mean, you don't want to say you don't want to come. Like, we definitely want to be here, but we also, like, we feel for that push and pull for that. Next thing we take a look at is the climate and sort of what's the weather like. And Florence, like any European city, has hot summers and cool, damp winters. And we're here September, October, and mostly September, and we've had beautiful days and we've had rainy days. We've kind of had a mix of things, and it's been really kind of nice to be able to experience the season changing.
It is nice, except for when it's supposed to be sunny and you go out to get something to eat, or you go and visit the city, and then on your way back you hit a rainstorm. Without umbrellas or without a jacket. But it's only for a short period of time, and when you get back, it's kind of nice. Yeah,
it is nice when you're indoors. But we've only been caught in a rainstorm once.
Right.
And it has rained several days, but like Rick said, short periods of time, and so then you can get out and do what you want to do and then get back in. Whenever we go somewhere new, we don't rent a car, and so we rely on either public transportation, but if you know us, you know, mostly we rely on walking. And so we look to see if the city that we're staying in is walkable, and Florence is absolutely walkable. Everything is kind of within a 20-minute sort of walk to see all of the major sites, and then it's also really nice and flat.
Yeah, flat is definitely the word here. There's some hills that you have to navigate if you're going to like lookout points and stuff like that. That's why they call them lookout points. But for the most part, it's very flat. It's even like the bus or the train depot is about 2 miles from us, and we've taken that walk a couple of times, and we're not going to order a taxi to take us to leave here to go to Rome. We're just going to walk
with our suitcases.
And we wanted to make sure that would be okay. And the walkability is easy. We're able to roll our suitcases that far, and it shouldn't be that bad.
No, I don't think so. So the only thing I would say about the walkability here is that the tourists and the crowds can really slow you down. And I can appreciate that for the locals trying to do their day-to-day activities, going to the grocery store, going to work, that could get a little frustrating. And we were in a plaza one day, and an older lady, an adorable little lady, and I bumped into each other. And so I immediately said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And so I said that in English, of course, and she stopped and she looked at me, and the level of disgust broke my heart. I almost felt like I wanted to cry. She kind of looked me up and down and shook her head and then kept walking, and I thought, wow, this is really frustrating for the locals who are trying to do what they do on a regular basis, and then they have all these people invading their city. And so while it's walkable, the crowds can make it somewhat challenging.
I can't imagine driving through the city, because you see the taxis, you see the cars, you see the mopeds and stuff, and people are everywhere looking at attractions.
Because it's so beautiful.
and just walking in the middle of the street, and they're in their way, and so I could see where it could get frustrating. But for the most part, it just all works out.
Yeah. So in addition to walking, we take a look at the public transportation system and to see what that's like. And so here we have mostly walked everywhere, but we have taken the trains, and they are efficient, fantastic, very easy to navigate. There isn't Uber here though, so you have to use the local taxi service.
Well, there is Uber, but it's double the price because they want to encourage people to use the taxi services, because they don't want Uber coming in and crushing the business of the taxi services. So we can understand that's another tourist thing, but I can understand that. we've taken the taxi service, and from
Wonderful.
from our Airbnb or from the train station to the Airbnb, it was about $35.
Yeah. And then there are buses, but we haven't used them, but we do see them running. We haven't, day trips, we've used the train, not the bus. And then, like I said, we've mostly just walked, but there does seem to be a developed public transportation system here.
And the train, like, I'm impressed with it. It's very easy.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy.
Yeah, and nice. The next thing we take a look at is like, how long is it going to take us to the airport? So we always kind of say proximity to the airport. And so this is an unusual city because there is a very small airport, but you're not going to use that airport if you're coming here. And so I think most people arrive here by train. So you probably would, like, we'll fly out of Rome. I would guess that most people either fly into Venice or fly into Rome and then take a train from there. So mostly you're relying on the train systems, which is great because if you're going to come to Florence, you probably want to spend a little bit of time in Rome anyway. So you take the train there, and then that's where you're going to fly out of. And since we stay in most places for about a month at a time, we want to make sure we're not going to be bored. So we always take a look at what is there to do. And Florence is a cultural
haven.
yes, there is so much to see and do, and so easy to be able to see and do it. So not only do you have all of these rich activities and monuments and things you can see and do in the city center, it's also a great base for day trips. So you can take lots of day trips from here. We just did a video last week where we shared with you our favorite things to do, so I'll link that down below. But some of the highlights for me, like, are the Duomo. Rick makes fun of me because I am in love with that building. I don't know, there's something like that just touches my heart about it. Going to the museums has been a highlight. Our cooking class.
Me eating.
We've eaten our way through Florence, and we've shared this before, but you'll see in next week's budget video just how much we've done eating. Cooking class, food tour. We went to Cinque Terre from here. That was a wonderful trip. And so there is shopping. We've actually done some shopping here. And so there is so much to see and do here. And then also it's a great base to go other places. So don't worry about that at all. And if you're interested in specifics, like I said, I'll link that video down below. We are beach town kind of people. So one of the things that we also look at is the place near water. And there's the beautiful Arno River that kind of flows through, but no, Florence is not a beach city destination, and it's not near water.
You can do kayaking. We saw a couple of kayakers.
So it is a beautiful river that runs right through the city. It's kind of, it's fabulous, but it's not what we're speaking about when we're talking about water. We also take a look at what the food scene is like, and chef's kiss.
Pasta and pizza, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, we have not had a bad meal here, and we've tried all the must-try foods. So there's a sandwich here that you have to try, and we've made it our mission to try all the different variations of it. So it's kind of on something similar to a focaccia bread, and you can get it stuffed full of all of anything you want kind of in there.
You go to the popular ones, you wait in line a little bit longer, and then we've also tried the ones that there's no line at, just to compare them, and they're all different, but they're all the same.
Yes, yeah, and we have tried a lot. We've also, of course, had the pizza, we've had the picky pasta, we've had all different kinds. You've had seafood pasta like nobody's business.
And my goodness, the wine scene, you can buy the cheapest bottle of wine and it's still good.
Delicious.
This reminds us of Portugal, where no matter what you bought, you had a good bottle of wine, and that's the same as in Florence here.
Yeah.
Every night we have had a glass of wine, maybe 2, maybe 3, but we have not had a bad bottle yet. We had wine that tastes different, but nothing that's ever been bad.
Yeah. And at any restaurant, we've never ordered a specific kind of wine. We just get the house wine, and it's delicious. And they sell it like in a glass, or a half liter, or a full liter. So we'll typically get a half liter, and that gets us about 2 glasses of wine each. And again, it is just the house wine, typically like €7 or €8 for that. Great bargain, and also delicious. So some of the other things that we've tried are the soups here. There's a Tuscan tomato soup that's kind of a bread tomato soup that's delicious. There's the ribollata, which is almost a vegetable stew kind of thing. The affogato, so that was delicious. So that's this beautiful gelato filled with a shot of espresso.
Right.
And mentioning gelato, the gelato is delicious. So really here, this is a foodie's haven, and it's not inexpensive.
No, it's not inexpensive. It's for 2 of us, we're spending anywhere from $35 to $55.
Yeah, I was going to say
Wherever-
40 to 60.
Yeah,
but okay.
I mean, 30, yeah, it's about in that range. But what's great is no matter where we go, we haven't had a bad meal either.
Yeah.
We've had meals that were better than others, but I can't sit here and say that we've had a bad meal because we really haven't.
We haven't. It's great. And here we followed a lot of the recommendations. We kind of scoured the internet to find like places that you have to go to, and we went to them. But really, we've also just stopped into places, and the meals have been the same. So I think don't worry so much about following the guides where you have to go. Just follow your heart and your stomach, and you're not going to be disappointed.
Can't go wrong.
No. Because we're not spring chickens, we also are concerned about the healthcare in whatever place we're at. And Florence and Italy, period, has top-notch, world-renowned healthcare. And there are plenty of modern hospitals here where the doctors speak English, and so we weren't worried about the healthcare at all. But thankfully, we
haven't had to use it.
No, we only know this from our research. But Florence was a place we felt very comfortable with the healthcare system. Next on our list is cost of living. And so, of course, we take a look at what it's going to cost to stay here for this 1 month, but then also taking a look at, is this a place that we could sustain our budget for 3 months at a time? And Florence is a little more expensive than other places we've stayed, especially as travelers. It's not an inexpensive place for travelers or visitors who are coming here.
I think you'd get good deals if you were staying here 3, 6, 9 months. But just for staying at a month at a time, you'll get some deals. But it's expensive. It's like $2,500 to $4,000 for an Airbnb
for a month.
Be able to stay.
Yeah, especially if you wanted to stay sort of in that city center area. We've put ourselves out of the city center, but still, our Airbnb was up there. We'll go over that next week. But our Airbnb was a little pricey, even with a 50% discount. So. You can definitely find some bargains, and so like we would get sandwiches for a meal, and the sandwiches were huge, and you cut that in half, and so that's a €10 lunch. We did things like that to sort of offset some of the higher cost things that we did. We looked for bargains like finding a museum for free on a Sunday, and those kinds of things. So you just kind of figure it out, but overall I would say it's more expensive than many of the places we've stayed. So the overall vibe in Florence, I would say, is magical, breathtaking, beautiful, historical, lovely. Like it has all of these, it's just beautiful. And for a short-term stay, I would say in my top 3 places I would recommend to come for like a week vacation, because there's so much beauty and things to do and see here.
Yes, I agree.
But for a longer-term stay, it's a little hectic. And
I think we'd start feeling like the locals do here, where you start getting irritated with the tourists. I could see myself, because I could see a lot of people out there, and you just want to go to the store, and you're battling people. So
yeah, all the time.
I can see how the locals get frustrated with us.
Yeah, so for a short-term stay, it's fabulous, and I would say in my top 3, maybe my top 2 places I would recommend coming to. But for a longer-term stay, it might be a little hectic. So the final question we always ask is, could we live here? Now remember, this would be for a 3-month stay and somewhere we would kind of rotate through regularly. And I think for both of us,
For both of us, it'd be a no, not for the center of Florence, Italy. As we're going on the train, I was looking at the countryside, and it just looked like normal life, and you get into your regular routine. Maybe for a long period of time, maybe, but we haven't experienced that. So for Florence, the city of Florence, living here long term, 3 months at a time, it would be a no for me, but a definite 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 2 weeks is a perfect time.
Yeah, and if you were vacationing and had a week, like this would be,
yes.
Come here.
Yes.
So the pros are that there is so much to see and do. The food is excellent. It's
yes.
a great base for day trips. But then the cons are kind of what we talked about. It's expensive and it's crowded. So for us, we sure don't have very many places that are a yes for us. I think we only have 2 right now.
Well, what's nice is, even in a place that we don't want to, or we wouldn't stay 3 months at a time, it is nice to have a community. And when I say community, we're at the market,
Mm-hmm.
and
oh yes,
we've come across people who've seen us on YouTube, and we're in Italy. I'm walking down a market, and next thing I know, I hear my name being called out. It's just nice to have that moment to connect with people that recognized me in the middle of Italy.
We were in the museum and the same thing happened. There was a Danielle, a lovely lady who is here, and we got to go out to lunch with her and her husband Ben. And then just sitting at restaurants, it's just so nice. You strike up conversations with others. So I do think having those connections makes a big difference somewhere. And so anywhere, we could live anywhere if our family or we had people that we know and love places. And so getting to meet people in different spots definitely makes it feel a little more like home.
Right, and like what Daphne says, we could live anywhere if our family was here. If we could live here for 3 years and be no problem.
Yeah.
But without the family and the things and the connections and stuff like that, living in Florence 3 months, no.
Yeah. And speaking of connections, I want to say a big thank you. So Regina Zerbano. So Regina is a friend of mine from back in the States. We were colleagues and friends. And Regina sent us 5 coffees. So we were...
Well, we had to send Regina a picture and apologize for not using her 5 coffees on coffees because we used them on a couple of glasses of wine and some snacks at the base of the
Leaning Tower Pizza. Yeah, so we used the coffee money for wine, but she said that was okay. In fact, she said she preferred that. But Regina, thank you for those. And then we hope that this is helpful if you're thinking about coming to Florence, whether for a short-term stay or for a long-term stay. And then we hope you join us next week when we go over our nail biter of a budget. We are going to cut it close here, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So we hope you join us next week as we go over our budget with you. But until then, bye.